We call this the Gilded Age because, like, if you were to gilt something, gilding means that you take a base metal like lead, something that's pretty cheap, and you cover it with this shiny veneer. So the analogy that they're making here is that there's this like really, really rich coating, but most of the people throughout the Gilded Age are poor and are being taken advantage of. There is a large disparity between the rich and the poor. Now, there is a growing middle class, they're not rich, they're not really poor. We call them middle class professionals. This is what we refer to as white collar. These are people that are working more with their minds rather than their backs, right? So teachers, lawyers, those kinds of people. In this growing middle class, we're going to see that women are going to fall into something referred to as the cult of domesticity. Now, this means this cult of domesticity is what we'd call traditional female values, right? This idea that women should be homemakers, they should be raising kids, they don't need to go out and get jobs. That's a middle class value. In the working class, right, these are the unskilled labor that we're going to see throughout this next generation. This unskilled labor, women are going to be in that labor market. Women have always been in the labor market. They just tend to be this working class. Now, these women are going to be hired because they can get a lower wage, right? They'll get paid less than the men. There's also going to be a lot of children in the working class. 1 out of 6 kids is going to be in the factory in the working class. Now, that does not mean the men are not working. Oftentimes, women and children are working because they didn't make enough. The men didn't make enough money to have them be a single earner, right? So, working class people had a lot of women and children in there because they needed the extra income. Why do they need the extra income? Because there was low wages. Unskilled labor, by definition, means that they're easily replaceable, so they didn't get a lot of pay. There's going to be long hours. 10 to 12-hour days, not uncommon. Most of the time, it's 6 days a week, oftentimes 7 days a week. And it's unsafe. There is no OSHA standards. There's nobody there checking to make sure that everything's safe. You did your work, and if you got hurt, they just sent you along. And, you just didn't have a job anymore. This trifecta here is why the working class does try to create unions. Unfortunately, unions didn't have a lot of power when they first organized. Owners, right, the robber barons, capitalists, they would hire scabs, right, people that would, if the union went on strike, they would hire people to take their jobs. Oftentimes, they would hire non-white populations to do that so that the white people would feel offended by it. They would blacklist people, right? They would make sure they didn't get a job in a factory next door or the next town over. And there's a lot of ethnic distrust even among the working class because you have Italians and Irish and African Americans, and they don't necessarily trust each other, so it's a bit harder to form a union. But we're going to see coming up, unions are going to be incredibly important during the Gilded Age, leading up into the Progressive era.